Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the voyages of 3 veteran Trekkies, Rich, Ian, and Toby. Their ongoing mission? To explore the vast Star Trek universe, to seek out new perspectives and fresh debates, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. Beyond the Final Frontier.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Final Frontier, a Star Trek podcast with me, your host, Rich Matthews, and my fellow romantic voyagers, Mr. Ian Spelling.
I don't even know if I can reply to that, but hello.
And Mr. Toby Weidman.
Hello, darlings.
Oh God. please stay on. So yes, as you may have
talking
gathered,
to us or our listeners? Come on.
Everyone, I think. This is, as you may have gathered, given this is dropping on the 10th of February, this is our special Valentine's episode where we're going to talk about our favourite love and romance on Star Trek. And we're running the gamut as ever. It's going to be interesting. But now, unusually for me, I've got an honourable mention that I'd like to start with, because I was going to include it and then I thought I can't read it, which is that I was going to have Sub Rosa as my number 7. Which for the
horrible episode.
I know, but God,
it's a ghost of an episode.
Yeah, it is. It's spectral in its
fact,
romance.
we should ghost it entirely.
Yeah, indeed. So you'll be spared that, luckily. So I'm happy to start, guys, unless anyone else wants to.
I'm also going to just say that there are some givens for me in this, and so I've deliberately ruled them out. City on the Edge of Forever would be my number 1, so I've just decided not to include that one. I'm just putting that out there out front. I probably also would have included The Inner Light, but because we've discussed that quite a lot, I've decided not to include that one either.
And I'm going to be honest with you and say that is not reasoning for me to leave something out. I get what you're saying. We've discussed a lot of these but a classic's a classic, and if it deserves to be in there.
But that's why I'm saying up front that those would be givens for me. They would go in there. There were a couple of couples that didn't make the list, the O'Briens, basically. I really tried to get them in because I loved them as a couple, but I just couldn't find an episode that I really, really liked that focused on them specifically. They do come up, but they're not the main focus of the episodes that I've picked.
Well, their background, aren't they? I mean, like the recurring romances are Miles and Keiko, and Riker and Troy, Worf and Dax, and Odo and Kira, and Paris and B'Elanna, Trip and T'Pol. There's Stamets and the Doctor. Culber, thank you. In Discovery, and obviously Picard and Crusher to some degree, and Spock and Chapel. But not all of them get an episode or a main story, do they? So I completely understand that. And that's why my number 7 is Attached.
Okay.
The season 7, episode 8 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Another Frakes. His episodes keep coming up, don't they? Picard and Crusher stranded together on, well, it would have been Planet Hell set back in season 1, but it's not, is it? It's a location with some cave set, with a telepathic link established between them, and forcing the long wished for addressing of their romantic tension that was never fulfilled previously because of Beverly's relationship with Jack, Wesley's dad, and the fact they all knew each other, and he felt inappropriate. And also, I certainly thought we were going to get Picard Crusher romance in the movies. I genuinely thought that was what was going to happen, and they were planting the seeds for that here, but they didn't. And as we've said many times, it's only when you got to Picard season 3 that they finally gave Crusher, Beverly, her due, and Gates McFadden her due, and cemented that relationship. I mean, admittedly, we didn't get to see the actual initial romance on screen, but it was certainly almost good enough to just have a capper.
You could say that the alternate timeline in All Good Things, the fact that they were married, and then obviously dissolved and broken up afterwards. I think maybe that's the first indication that they would get together eventually.
Yeah, but again, off screen. I mean, we know it's always better to keep teasing, to keep romantic tension going, but the chemistry in this episode between Patrick Stewart and Gates McFadden is really nice, and they're both... It's going to be a strange way of putting it, but I think they both give a very delicate performance in what could easily have been something a bit more melodramatic. And I really enjoy them. It's a subtle episode, and I like the fact, a lot of fans don't, but I like the fact that they pull back from it at the end of the episode. I like the fact it was hinting at something else. As I said, because I thought it was coming later in the movies, but it wasn't. So, yes, my number 7 is Attached.
It's not an episode I particularly like, I have to say.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I can understand why you picked it, but yeah, I don't think I ever really... It's not in my top tiers.
Yeah, it's not in my top 50 either.
Wow. Okay. Well then, Ian, what's your number 7?
It was tough. And this was another one where there were a lot of good options, simply because there's so much good Star Trek, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought about Rejoined for a minute. I have a feeling that Someone to Watch Over Me might be on one of your lists. I think it was Toby, you just mentioned Inner Light. Could easily be in there. Amok Time. If we're going to go with Kirk-Spock bromance, I think that's vitally important. Obviously, End of Star Trek 2, if we're going to include movies, would certainly give us Kirk-Spock as well. Any episode with Neelix and Kes, I think, is important romance. No?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Totally joking there, by the way. Just, on that one. My number 7, though, is Sons and Daughters.
Okay. Yeah, nice.
You're going to have to remind me of that one.
It's when Worf and Dax get truly serious.
Oh, okay.
To this day, I love the heat, the levity, the sexiness, the pretty much everything about Dax and Worf together. I thought the chemistry between Terry Farrell and Michael Dorn was off the charts. You could sense that they were having fun. They looked like they were having a ball shooting their scenes together. The more playful ones, obviously, and then when things got tough and sad, or there was fighting involved, or protecting him, protecting her, I just thought all of that worked. And then when we get the grief scream after her death, that was earned and really hit home.
But poorly done. I'll stand by that.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, tell me why.
Remember when we discussed that episode when I thought that was going to be a very weepy episode for me, and then I rewatched it and it just sort of made me angry because I thought it was really badly done. Not just her death, but the aftermath.
Okay, but specifically, how about the scream?
Oh, not the scream itself, but I mean, he screams and then he says a couple of words and then it cuts.
Right.
It's over way too quickly.
Yes, that I agree with, but I thought the relationship earned the scream. Everything else about the scream I agree with you on. They cut away too soon, linger on this for a while, totally agree. But I thought that if they were going to kill her off after all that romance that they built up to, I thought the build-up was really good, and I thought they took advantage of those two as actors and played to their strengths, and their strengths as individuals and as a couple as well.
Cool. Toby?
I think you two might have this a lot higher.
We do.
It's Deep Space Nine, Season 6's His Way.
We do.
I thought that might be the case. It's basically where Odo and Kira finally get together after 4 seasons of will they, won't they?
Yes.
They will, and they'll do it his way.
There are lots of things I like in this episode, but for me, I don't know, it feels like pure wish fulfillment in a kind of a Mills and Boone Hallmark kind of style.
Do you have
romance.
Mills and Boone in the States, Ian?
I don't know what the heck Mills and Boone is now.
That's why I said Hallmark as well.
Mills and Boones are old-fashioned, old lady...
sappy romantic novels.
They're not just romantic, they're old lady porn books.
They are
Can
romantic.
you send me one of your copies?
Well thumbed, probably.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the books.
Is that a sexual reference?
For me, like how they do it, I think it's sort of overly sentimental. But as a fan, I did want these two to be together, so it was satisfying from that point that you're getting these two tortured souls essentially finally finding some happiness together. So it's satisfying, and then obviously it's all ripped apart in the finale.
Right.
I did find it interesting that both Renee and Nana were against the two characters getting together. They didn't think it fit with their characters, but they ultimately, they accepted that the writers had a bigger vision, probably Ira leading up to what you leave behind, and in this case it is Kira gets left behind. But yeah, the reason why it's last in my list, as much as I wanted it to happen, I do think it just feels a little bit unrealistic to me to get this amazing guest performance by James Darrow and Vic Fontaine. Do like that performance and how it's done together. He tricks them into being together. Yeah, I don't know, because she kind of friend zoned him, and then he was just awkward and shy and couldn't get over it. But I don't know, it sort of
Isn't that how you met your first three wives, Toby?
I'm still paying off the divorce payments.
Did you rewatch, Toby? Did you rewatch it? Yeah. See, yeah. I did, and it went up my list when I rewatched.
I thought this would be my number one, actually, and then I was sort of surprised by my reaction to it. Maybe I'm just bitter.
Oh. Is it possible that you are a cold-hearted bastard?
They say you are what you drink, and I'm a bitter man.
Oh, wow. That makes me sweet and bubbly, I don't think.
But yeah, that's my number 7. And I fully expected it to be higher on your list.
And you'd be right. So my number 6 is
Who cares?
Thank you.
Are we just culling it after that? Are we just cutting this episode now?
Awesome. Never as more honest utterance coming from Mr. Spelling.
There's so much love in the room.
Yeah. My number 6, I'll plough on regardless. Off the back of Ian's number 7 is actually You Are Cordially Invited. The wedding episode of Worf and Dax. For many reasons. Also because it could easily have just been a straightforward episode, but I like the tension that's shown between Martok's wife and then the fact that she's actually a hypocrite and Jadzia exposes it, and it almost causes divisions that would be insurmountable, but they overcome it. And I love all the stuff with the sort of stag do, the bachelor party element of the rituals that all the men have to go through with Worf and suffering through. That's all really fun. And
more pain sticks.
Yeah, I know, all the pain sticks. And just I
will say, just to interrupt you, Richard, yeah. I'm really sorry. Joking aside, that is one of the issues right there, though, with Starfleet Academy, is, remember we were talking about the future's too modern?
Yeah.
That whole bachelor party stag thing was very 1990s.
Well, that's true. That is true. Yeah, very. But I still find it charming.
Oh, very entertaining.
Yeah.
But just of its time.
Yeah, because at this point, this cast are just bouncing off each other left, right, and centre, and the chemistry is effortless. And that's the other fundamental thing: is Dawn and Farrell. Their chemistry is off the charts, and it's really awesome.
That's what I said. I agree.
Yeah, and also, primarily as well, that dress. Woo!
And she wore it again in Vegas a few years ago.
I saw it. I was
really super duper cool.
Gutted that I couldn't see that, because it was just in person anyway. But it's very hard. I think anyone that does cosplay will attest this. It's very hard to pull that look off, especially if you're not wearing the Klingon makeup as well. And she just rocks it.
Especially if you're not Terry Farrell.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, she's striking. She's charming. Dawn and she are just effervescent in this episode, and it's just a lovely, lovely episode.
Well, if you want to talk outfits, going back to His Way, I mean, Kira's costumes in that absolutely fantastic. When she sings Fever, the hollow version of her,
yeah,
holy cow.
Indeed, absolutely right. So Ian, you were number 6.
Day of Honor, Voyager, when B'Elanna and Tom say I love you as they face the prospect of death together. That scene alone sells the episode for me. Again, this is one of these things where we're building up to a moment. The episode as a whole, I'm not going to jump up and down and say it's one of the greatest episodes of any Star Trek series.
No, the Day of Honor stuff's a bit forced. Yeah.
But that particular scene, where it's a remarkable scene. It combines actor chemistry. It combines fan shipping. Everybody wanted to see them together, and okay, let's give the people what they want. It was a cool stunt because they literally were hanging in a soundstage. Gorgeous cinematography. It was absolutely gloriously shot. Seamless visual effects. You really believe that they were kind of floating in space. And rewatching it the other day, where the masks are even, getting kind of foggy, was cool. And a lovely score that sold it and brought it home even more without bonking you on the head too hard.
Agree with that.
Was there any bonking in the episode?
They did bonk visors.
They did bonk, yeah. I'm not, bonking before and after, because a baby did happen.
She was pregnant, wasn't she, when she filmed this, Roxanne Dawson? And so the fact that it probably helped in a weird way, because it's probably one of those times that you could use it in performance. But right. That commitment to that moment is.
But I was rooting for the characters to get together.
Yeah.
Really interesting little innuendos in there about her being a Klingon, all the way, building up to this moment, where things get spicy with the two of them. They kind of, hinted at that in other episodes, just her being Klingon and half human and all of that fun stuff. And I thought the scene, again, some of the classic sum of the parts question, but the part was fabulous. And that is what I wanted for their relationship. And we got even more payoff later. Just in terms of the words, "I love you," I thought it was a great, important thing for Voyager to have that work.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
I have another episode with those two in mind, with another killer end line, but it's not in my 6 spot, so I'll wait. Okay. My 6 spot goes to Enterprise, Season 4's Home, particularly focusing on the T'Pol trip to Vulcan aspect of that storyline, although there's lots of I guess vignettes of what the crew are doing after they get back to Earth. T'Pol invites Trip to Vulcan, where he gets to meet possibly the mother-in-law, although it never really happens. Played by Joanna Cassidy, who auditioned for Janeway, which I actually didn't think I knew that until I was researching.
And if I'm not mistaken, appears in a certain film.
Maybe.
Isn't she a Blade Runner? Joanna Cassidy?
Oh yeah, of course she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got blank. So sorry, listeners. I got blank expressions about Toby's favourite film and an actor from it.
Well, do you know what? It's because we said before recording that we're not going to mention Blade Runner.
But you chose an episode with Joanna Cassidy in it,
right? Have I ever mentioned that I think Blade Runner's a little overrated?
It is one of the greatest films ever made. I obviously need to refamiliarise myself with the cast.
Well, that and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
But I always liked the T'Pol trip relationship. It always felt very complicated. I felt there was an attraction, even though it is a doomed relationship. Maybe that's why I like it. And I do think this episode where she essentially goes through with the marriage to Kos, and there's some nice callbacks in it to things like Amok Time, obviously, where T'Pol threatens to declare Khalifi, and then obviously it doesn't happen, but you've got the tension between her decision and Trip's feelings, which Teles, played by Joanna Cassidy from Blade Runner, she sort of recognises in the end and sort of suggests that he goes for it, and he decides not to because he doesn't want to impact T'Pol. But I think what it does is it builds that relationship that it then has the big payoff in Terra Prime later in the season.
Right.
It's so impactful, that moment in that, because of episodes like this.
Yeah, agreed. It's a good episode, good choice. So my number 5, which is interesting that you mentioned The Inner Light, because I wouldn't include that in a love and romance episode, because again, the artifice of the episode sort of is a block for me slightly. The concept, which makes it wonderful, means it doesn't really feel like a true romance. But off the back of that is my number 5, which is Lessons from TNG Season 6.
I love this episode. I didn't pick it, but I love it. It would be in my shortlist.
Yeah, and the link there is, of course, that it's through music, and specifically Picard playing his Resican flute from the Inner Light with Lieutenant Commander just Nella Darren, isn't it? Played by the Aussie, Wendy Hughes, who's very charming. And a very simple exploration of workplace romance, workplace relationships, and power dynamics, and the fact that the loneliness of command, that ultimately the relationship is doomed because Picard has to order her to go on a mission, a dangerous mission, and they realise that it's untenable, that he almost compromises his command because of what he feels about her. And so she leaves the ship. She requests a transfer at the end of the episode, and it's understated, it's charming, it's moving. And this was one of those moments when you realise that TNG was firing on all cylinders, because would be a lovely romantic episode in any drama, let alone Star Trek. And the fact they had the confidence to actually run with this episode, for me, it's kind of a companion piece with family for Picard, in terms of that it is just about life and emotion and humanity in a very non-melodramatic, non-hyperbolic way, where you could easily have inserted a bigger crisis, but it's not needed. And in that sense is why it was one of the first things I thought of. And I prefer this kind of romance for Picard than something like Insurrection, where it's a bit more overt leading man romance. This is a character piece, and that's what makes it so good.
My number 5 is Home. I'm a big fan of the episode. It's a solid all-around episode. You will hear me mention several episodes that have a moment versus an episode as a whole. And the moment, in some cases, is better than the episode. This is a really solid episode of Enterprise all around. Just to build on Toby's point about Trip and T'Pol, he proves his worth to her mom as much as he does to her. And Joanna Cassidy takes that in. You catch that moment, right? And I thought it was just beautifully filmed and beautifully acted. And then I also liked the fact that Joanna Cassidy got some meat to chew on. It wasn't just a guest role in name. It actually served a major function for the sake of the show. But the key thing for me here was that it gave us a different kind of broken heart than Kirk's moment in the city on the edge of forever, when you have to let your love go for a particular reason, whatever that reason may be. And, here it had to happen. And I think T'Pol recognized it, Teles recognized it, and obviously Trip accepted the moment and did what he needed to do in the moment. And I thought it was really good stuff.
Well, talking about letting your love go, that leads me very nicely into my next choice, which is Voyager's Season 5's Someone to Watch Over Me. The EMH, in trying to help Seven reclaim her humanity, setting her up on dates, she suddenly realizes that he's falling in love with her, but it's not reciprocated at all. And he essentially steps back once he realizes. And it is devastating. It's really well done by everyone involved. It has light moments in there as well, some fun moments. Again, Picardo, Jerry Ryan, their comedy chops are great. I like the duet that they have, You Are My Sunshine. It's a very simple, character-focused episode, and it's done really well, and directed by Tom Paris as well. We've discussed this episode before, so I don't have too much to say about it, but it's the last of my doomed romances.
And you've given me an interesting segue, because my number 4 actually has a significant sort of moment for 7 of 9. In fact, it's a first sort of moment of integration into the crew, but that's only a side storyline in Day of Honor, which is my number 4. And my reason for liking the Paris-Torres romance is kind of like why the romance in Friends, if anyone watched Friends, between Chandler and Monica was so rewarding. It was sort of unexpected, because I feel that they were in danger of not knowing what to do with Paris for a while. And
He was sort of the Lothario, essentially.
Well,
wasn't
they
he?
did Glib stuff. They did Captain Proton. They.
What were the name of the twins? He was
Oh,
always
I can't remember the name of him and Harry. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the twins.
The Delaney twins.
The Delaney twins. Yeah, I mean that was right from the first season.
Yeah, and
The Kramer sisters played them, and they were the Double Mint girls
wow,
in the U.S. commercials.
gum. So yeah, So Paris was my favourite character from the pilot, and I've always liked Robert Duncan McNeil, probably because of the Master of the Universe, admittedly, but I do. And I just was, in the same way that the Marquis storyline didn't ever really coalesce the way you wanted, I was worried that was going to happen to Paris. And then this romance, this relationship with B'Elanna saved the character, because it deepened it and progressed him, and his redemption arc is because of B'Elanna. And that is really satisfying, and that's rooted here. And the fact that it takes death, essentially, to strip B'Elanna of all of her defences, not just being half Klingon, but just all of her Marquis baggage, her trying to prove herself, a constant need to defend a position in her head. In fact, it's all stripped away. That's what it takes. Means it's a true revelation. And for me, interestingly, because obviously we'll come back to Odo and Kira, that is a better version of what they kind of do with that episode in DS9 where it's not really Kira, and it's a changeling with her foot trapped and to get Odo to confess his love, because that's a fake out. This is a real version of that. How in that moment of crisis, the last thing she wants to do before she dies is to finally tell Tom how much she loves him. It's beautiful. Ian.
So I was just trying to think a little outside the box. What would be, different romances for this one? Do we go with like an Ezri and Bashir?
Which I was very pleased about. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't think they had much chemistry, and they certainly weren't developed fast enough or enough, period.
But we knew it was ending, so I quite liked it.
Right, to sell that. And if I remember correctly, I never read the book, but my understanding is that one of the books broke them up.
Oh, harsh.
So, yep. But I'm going to go with Resolutions. Now, let me be clear on that. Not my favorite episode.
No.
Not my favorite romance. But within the context of the episode, it was always there in the background, right? Janeway and Chakotay.
Yeah.
Are they, will they, won't they, all of that. And I just thought that thread touched on in Resolutions did a really good job of, okay, these guys do have feelings for each other. Are we going to explore this? Are we going to go beyond this episode? And the short answer was, you know what? We're going to acknowledge their affection for each other, their respect for each other, their attraction for each other, and then let it go. That the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the couple is really what it boiled down to.
The needs of the two.
Yeah, in this particular case. I thought it was wonderfully played by Mulgrew and Beltran.
Yeah.
And, I remember at the time, Beltran changed his mind on this. At first, he thought it was kind of silly. And then looking back on it, I guess, maybe because he realized it was an episode that gave him something to do. Yeah. That he kind of changed his tune and liked it. I, again, rewatched this one. I just watched clips of the end of Deep Space Nine just to see what that Bashir-Ezri relationship did or didn't do. Their scene was very sweet, but again, it didn't build on anything. It came out of nowhere.
It did come out of nowhere.
I frankly would have gone with bromance between Bashir and Garrick over
Bashir and O'Brien. Bashir is
Yeah.
basically bromancing all over the place.
Exactly. But just, in terms of a straight up romance, I thought Resolutions did a very good job of honing in on it for one episode, acknowledging everybody's desire to see these two get together, and, pardon the pun, very logically explaining why it shouldn't happen.
Yeah, agreed.
But have they ever really got Janeway in a romantic? I mean, they kept giving her, partners.
Well, they had the guy at home and with the dog, and they had...
I think that's the reason, because her purpose was to get her crew home. And I genuinely, it was never articulated, but I always assumed that she clung to that relationship at home as one of the reasons. she has to get her crew home, and so there's someone waiting for her.
Right. Didn't she have a romance in, was it Fairhaven?
I was going to say Fairhaven, wasn't there? But it never really worked for me.
No.
And as we've mentioned, Beltran, like his character, Chakotay, just, I don't know, they just really didn't know what to do with him throughout the whole thing.
Ever.
My fourth spot is the Emissary, not the DS9 one, but the Next Generation one from season 2. This is the first of 3 episodes that are just plain horny.
Sorry.
In my selection coming up. In this one particularly, it's Worf and guest character Kayla.
Oh, yeah.
Played by Suzie Plakson.
I love Suzie Plakson.
She's great.
Yeah. The chemistry between Dawn and Plakson, I think, is there right from the off. Just, I mean, maybe it's her selling it more because he's just trying to be the kind of ignoring her. But I think it's really palpable. And, you know, they captured that frustration and embarrassment of not only meeting an ex, but then being forced to work together as well. And the kind of the sexual tension. And then you have the fight and you have that build up to the, what would... Fortunately, it's off camera, but like terrifyingly violent sex that they have.
Nothing like doing it in the Targ position.
Plakson apparently compared this to a parlor room comedy, and I can see that there is some really fun stuff in there right from the start with the Klingons never bluff, which then comes back at the end because Worf has to bluff those Klingons who had been, I can't remember exactly what had happened to them, but they basically still thought they were fighting the Federation. What I did find very interesting is that Suzie Plakson had played a character in the Schizoid Man called Dr. Slar.
She's a serial alien in Star Trek.
Yeah, she also played a Q, right, as well, I think.
Yes.
And the initial idea for this episode was that it was going to be Worf and Slar getting together, so a Vulcan and a Klingon, which would have been interesting.
And their child could have been on Starfleet Academy.
That's true. Casting her as a half human, half Klingon, I think that was the right choice. I'm glad that they did change it, but I did find it very interesting.
Because part of her charm in the role is her smirk. It's a very particular kind of knowing, cute smirk that's quite playful, and you can see that twitching away when she's a Vulcan. And it's like, and it's fine for a Q. It's fine for a Klingon. It was not appropriate for a Vulcan. So it's interesting that I think I agree with you. It was wise to change it.
Yep, that's my number 4.
Are we up to 3?
Yeah, my number 3 is "Come Fly With Me, Come Fly." It's His Way. Wrong song. But yeah, but it's one. I think that
what a lovely rendition available on.
Thank you. Vic does sing that, I believe, in the episode. It's the Odo Kira thing. Now, I see, because I was somebody who agreed with Nana and Renee that I didn't think they should get together. But it's one of those things that has grown on me more and more and more. And so this was a rewatch because I was like, maybe I should be diligent and watch it. And this time it just charmed the hell out of me, even more than it ever has before. It's a lovely episode.
I didn't say the pants.
No, I have some decorum, I love the fact it's the episode that introduces Vic, and and how charming James Darren is in the role. I like the bait and switch, specifically because I like both of their indignation, and that's sort of the union of the episode. That's where it actually begins, when they are both appalled at being tricked in that situation. And I think that's what brings them together, and that's really smart writing.
I think his is more just embarrassment.
Right, I was going to say Kira is anger, Odo is embarrassment.
Yeah. No, it's anger too at being tricked. There's if you watch it carefully, Renee plays that note definitely, that he is we know how hard it is for him to trust.
He's saying we didn't watch it carefully. Did you catch that?
I mean, I did, and I disagree with Rich.
Well, should we say more carefully, with an open heart, for all the notes of the performance?
I mean, I think he's embarrassed, and he's angry that he's been embarrassed.
Okay.
What he said.
Well, I take it as a similar response in terms of that Odo trusts very, very. He finds trust very difficult, and he puts he doesn't like the idea of forming an attachment to a hologram, I don't think, even though Vic is different. And he's got reached that point of trust. And so, yes, he's embarrassed. Yes, he's exposed. But equally, I think he feels betrayed. And that is played out in the following scene where Vic tries to contact him again and he doesn't want to talk to him. Because he's not that embarrassed by Vic knowing, because of course Vic knew all about it. So
no, he was embarrassed for Kira.
Of course he was.
Not for Kira, but about
indignant about
being
the
embarrassed
trick.
in front of Kira.
Yeah. I just think it shows one of the notes that they share that makes them simpatico and a good couple. For me, I think that's there, and I think that it is just adds even further depth to their coming together. I think probably the reason I struggled with it initially is poor Renee has to do that kiss through that makeup,
Yeah.
and that makes it look a bit funny.
Well, they said when they first did it, is they just left like his smudged makeup was all over her face.
Yeah. But if you can, as I did, finally get past that moment, both Nana and Renee play that beautifully, and it's funny and lovely and very public, and I like that reality, and it's a lovely piece of screwball comedy when the way they deliver it, and it's just a lovely episode in the end. And now in retrospect, yeah, I'm really glad they did it.
My number 3 is Nepenthe.
Oh, interesting.
Beyond the very nice bromance scenes between Riker and Picard, I particularly appreciated the dynamic and the time they spent on Riker and Troy here. A lot of it was simply the old school chemistry between, Frakes and Sirtis. They're still together. They're full of love for each other. There's a lot of unspoken back and forth communication kind of going on, and I don't mean with her magic powers there. There's still spark between them, and she knows when to step away while he's talking to Picard and vice versa to give them their moments. It was just good stuff for one of my favorite Star Trek couples. I really enjoyed revisiting that, and as much as I enjoyed the wedding and all of that in the movie, catching up at them all those years later, I thought was really well done. And as you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the first 2 seasons of Picard, and this was one of the better moments, shall we say. And then I also the romance is there, so is the sadness, what happened with the child, right? But we also had Lulu Wilson as Kestra, and I thought she only added to that kind of love is in the air dynamic, completing the family within the episode. So it was a little bigger than just Riker and Troy for me, because it was the Riker-Troy family, the extended family, both blood and our chosen family. And so for that reason, I was very surprised that this episode ended up as high on my list as it did. If you actually look at my list, I reversed 4 and 3 last night, because I was like, you know what? If I had to watch one of these, it would be Nepenthe over Resolutions. But I just thought, again, the payoff to Janeway Chakotay was important, so it had to be in there. It might even be higher than it should be, but I like my order. I'll stick with it.
There's a very small moment right at the very end where Picard and Soji are leaving, and Kestra, Deanna and Will are stood next to each other, and then Kestra sort of moves away after hugging Soji and stands between them. And Deanna kind of puts her hand on Kestra's shoulder, and Will kisses up the back of her head. And I just thought it's just it felt very real, family moment, that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, you're confirming my point, my friend.
Yes, on a lighter note, is it true that the contacts and wig that Marina wore in an episode were hers, and she nicked them from Nemesis?
I think the wig, I don't know about the contacts, but the wig,
I think they're both hers, and they hadn't done it, and she went, I've got them, shall I bring them?
Yeah.
And so there's
rather than pay for a very expensive wig. I don't know about the contacts, but the wig, I heard that as well.
I don't know that I would wear the contacts.
I love the idea that that's how, in terms of character ownership. Oh, I've got the wig and the contacts, should I bring them? Yeah, I quite like that. Well, that would be a bit more cockney, wouldn't it?
Well, after a nice family moment, I'm getting the horn again, because I'm going for Voyager's Season 3's Blood Fever. So this is my Tom and B'Elanna episode.
Good choice.
Just to very briefly go through the plot, it's where Vorik, a Vulcan, is going through Ponfar, and he tries to get together with B'Elanna, and she rejects him, and he sort of attacks her, and she punches him away in a typical B'Elanna way. But then she gets infused with the Ponfar, and then when they beam down to a planet, basically she gets very, very horny, and Tom, who has already expressed that he likes her, has to decide what he's going to do. And yeah, he makes kind of a noble decision until he doesn't, and then they sort of are planning on going into a cave together and getting rid of her obsession until it comes down to Vorik beams down to the planet because he's not been able to overcome his own struggles, and they have a rather wonderful fight. The only thing I was sort of slightly sad about is that I kind of wish they'd at least hinted at the Amok time battle music underneath it, which they didn't do. And maybe it would have been too silly, but I think I would have liked it if it had been subtly done.
New Trek would have done that.
Yeah, maybe.
Still might.
Yeah, that's true.
But for me, I never saw those as a couple. I never saw them initially at the beginning anyway, being together. Like I said, he was the Lothario, she was the angry, emotional half Klingon. But I think by this point, it got to a place where I was thinking, oh, it might work. And I really liked the kind of final scene, which is in the turbo lift, which is what I was referring to about the final last line of the episode, which is he's sort of hoping that something might happen in the future, and she says, be careful what you wish for. And, well, he got what he wished for, didn't he? And then some.
Indeed. Oh, excellent choice. That's a great episode. I hadn't thought about that episode for a while. That's really nice. That's a good one.
Directed by Andrew Robinson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go.
Yeah. God, so many strings to Garrick's bow. So my number 2, we won't spend long talking about this because we've spoken about this episode a lot, is The City on the Edge of Forever. Because for all the many reasons we talked about before, but I don't think it can ever be undersold how the artistry behind selling this central romance in this episode is in a complete story. Obviously in Joan Collins as Edith Keeler, you've got a beautiful and glowing portrayal which is instantly infatuating for all viewers, and of course makes it very easy to buy the Kirk falling in love. It feels like love. We see lots of Kirk's conquests and dalliances, and this is even later when you see him with Carol and Marcus. There's affection for Carol, but you never really truly think he loves her. And this is the one time where I think Kirk clearly is in love with her, and it's poignant and moving and sad. And so I don't have much more to say except that I couldn't, as Ian would have said many times in the past, any love and romance list for Star Trek must have this.
Just to build on that, it is my number 2 as well. I thought for 2 seconds about This Side of Paradise as the Spock equivalent in many ways.
Same. I watched that last night.
And Jill Ireland and Nimoy had great chemistry. I just didn't think it was quite as good or important or consequential an episode for Star Trek as it was for Spock. You know what I mean? So I went with City on the Edge of Forever, and somehow This Side of Paradise never actually got onto my list as a result. But again, I don't have a ton to say about it. It is the ultimate broken heart romance of Star Trek. It's the ultimate science fiction story for Star Trek, really. It's the ultimate Kirk, Spock, McCoy triumvirate story.
Yeah.
It's on a lot of our lists for very good reasons. You just can't top it.
No.
Except for it's not my number 1.
Yeah. So it can be topped, but not,
Funny enough, thinking about the original series, I also rewatched The Apple because I was wondering, because that's got a lot of stuff to do with love and romance.
Yes. Although every time that title comes up, I can't help thinking of that awful Canon Films musical from the early 80s, which is just terrifying PTSD. You've never seen it, Ian's Franny. If you haven't seen it,
I've seen it. Well,
I recommend it. Maybe with a couple of beers.
The Apple?
The Apple. But Adam and Eve in the future, and it's really weird. Just like, wow, they changed direction after this.
That's interesting. I saw a lot of the canon films, but I never even heard of that one.
I recommend seeking it out.
Okay.
Excellent. My second spot, this is the one that... So I wanted to do a Riker Troy episode as well, and I was really wondering about it. For me, they're the ultimate Star Trek couple. It's if you said name a couple from Star Trek, I would say Riker and Troy immediately comes to mind, although, funnily enough, not my number one spot as well. So I was toying between Nepenthe and TNG's Season 6 Second Chances as two episodes that were ultimately, it really was a toss-up, but ultimately, I don't do ties. So I decided to pick one.
Wait 1 second. I'm just going to get the knife out of my chest.
I mean, your chest is going in the back, mate. Yeah, I decided to go with Nepenthe because...
Was I pronouncing it wrong?
They pronounced the planet Nepenthe in the episode, so that's
It's like Rorapenthe.
Well, what if they're wrong?
Well, true.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason why I chose this one is because I think it best shows the love, respect, and very deep connection that a couple at that stage of their relationship would have. I mean, we've seen it develop over 2 series and 4 films. I always thought there was something, it's hinted at in Encounter at Farpoint. It was on and off. You did have the second chances aspect where Troy has to kind of like relive the breakup that she had with Commander Riker through the new expressions of, or rather the old expressions of Lieutenant Riker, or Lieutenant Riker, I should say. Lieutenant, very British. But yeah, this was the one that I decided to go for. We've spoken about it a lot, so I mean, but it was one that, in terms of a moment, I would go Insurrection and the bath scene, because I think it's really playful and it's
the
kind of
shaving
fun.
scene, yeah. Mr. Worf, can I get back to you?
As a scene, that's the one which I think encapsulates a lot. But as an episode, I think this is, as we're not doing movies, only episodes. I know what's coming up, so yeah, Nepenthe is my second spot.
Yes. So my number
Go
one.
Rich. Go Rich.
Yeah, my number one. So in the same way that I controversially exercised my built-up tie karma in a previous episode, this is me now executing my including a film and an episode list karma, specifically directed at Toby. So my number one is Star Trek The Motion Picture.
And it's Kirk and the Enterprise.
Ladies and gentlemen, please consider this a public service announcement. Do not smoke crack before you do a podcast.
It's that 15-minute sequence of Kirk approaching the Enterprise. That's the love moment.
Talk about horny, man. That's just a masturbatory scene. You got to wipe the screen after that.
I was literally about to say, and it's not Ilea and Decker.
Oh, shit. It's Kirk and the fucking Enterprise?
It's Kirk and the Enterprise.
Okay, you filthy animal.
The absolute true love romance of Star Trek in all its incarnations. The only persisting, true, deep love is Kirk and the Enterprise.
And he kills her. He kills her.
All right, just gonna stop you there for a moment. You never, ever, ever, ever get to give me shit about ties ever again.
I'm going to keep giving you shit about ties.
You may give me shit because
I won't.
You earned it, but you? No. What's your favorite episode? Oh, The Motion Picture. What the fuck? At number 1?
No, but I couldn't let it go.
You couldn't pick a
the
self-destruct
romance.
code episode where Kirk and... Come on.
No, because this is the one which consummates it. This is the one which shows you a full close-up of the look in his eyes as he looks at the curve of her secondary hull, the nape of her pylons. It's just he absolutely adores
Toby,
that shit.
text me later. We have to talk.
I'm just worried about his relationship with his wife.
Right?
Well, I don't have a starship or a star to steer her by.
You do have a starship. I've seen you make it.
Well, it got destroyed by my cat.
I think you self-destructed it yourself.
I know.
Cat's paw?
Yeah, exactly, in my moment. Oh, dear, I stood there going, what have I done? What have I done, I should say, in the correct intonation. There you go.
I think we should move quickly on, Ian. What's your number 1?
All right, His Way is my number 1. Now, there is no question City on the Edge of Forever is the better episode.
Yeah.
But just in terms of my pure enjoyment of a romance in Star Trek, I love seeing Odo in it. We discussed why it works as a romantic episode, but you can see the moment that it clicks for Kira, which I thought was hugely important and beautifully played by Nana.
Yeah.
I love that so many of the characters see the kiss happen and that it's not just a private moment, it's a shared moment, which has a lot of, what the heck, and then we knew it was coming type of reactions from the other characters in the space. You got Odo in a tux, and great use of and great introduction for Vic Fontaine and James Darren. I know a lot of people don't like that character or just thought they went to the well too many times with it. A lot of people just didn't think it fit the show, especially during the war arc. I get that.
It was an antidote, though. It was a needed antidote.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was really cool. For the characters, for the show, and for me as a viewer, I thought it really worked. So I don't have much more information to give on it, but other than the fact that I just found it incredibly entertaining, very romantic, funny, awkward, right? A little embarrassing in there, sitting there. I know it pulled me out of the moment. I remember watching it at the time, and I did again when I watched it for this, to see them kiss and going, oh my God, that's prosthetics, man. She deserves a freaking Emmy just for that.
Yeah. She should have that Emmy for that moment you described, though. It's the smile when they're
and
dancing.
The dance. How wonderful is the dance?
She just, the look on her face, and you can see that change. And it's like, excellent.
And then the payoff in the finale later on, back in the tux, right? Yeah. Just beautifully done. So that's number one for me, boys.
My number one is also Deep Space Nine. I was very surprised that none of you picked this, but it's Looking for Parmark in All the Wrong Places, season 5. For me, I haven't seen season 3 of Strange New Worlds, so I can't compare, but this is possibly the horniest episode in all of Star Trek.
I got so much shit for the Enterprise thing, and you've said horny more times than I think I've heard it in about.
You hear romance, I hear horn. It's the difference between a married man and a single man, Rich. But there you go. You've got Quark trying to woo Grilka, returning from House of Quark. You've got Worf trying to woo Grilka. You've got Worf trying to woo Grilka for Quark, and then you've got Dax trying to woo Worf. And then you have everything that's going on between O'Brien and Kira and his massages and all that stuff. There's so much sexual tension in this episode. Very, very funny. There's lots of brilliant stuff in there. It's essentially Cyrano de Bergerac Star Trek style.
Right.
Great mix of comedy and romance. Again, directed by Andrew Robinson. And the final sequence where they all end up in sickbay because they've just broken bones and scarred from all their horniness is fantastic.
Real funny, fast anecdote. I'm at lunch yesterday with a group of friends. We're here where I live. And one of them is just walking around showing she knows how to give people massages. And she comes up behind me and tweaks my ears. And all I could think of is Umax. I didn't say it out loud because it would have really would have shown my Star Trek nerdom a little too much, but it was just really funny that my mind went right to Umax.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, brilliant. Paul, that's a lovely end to a heartfelt episode for us. But of course, that's just our picks of love and romance and horn, thanks Tobes, on Star Trek. So what do you think? Please let us know in the comments, or you can contact us via email and on social media. All the details are in the description as ever. And other than that, all I have to say is love long and prosper.
Peace, love, and logic, and happy Valentine's out there for all of our lovers.
Peace, love, and Tarabit.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Final Frontier, our Star Trek podcast with me, Rich, and my friends Ian and Toby. If you want to get in contact with us, please email us on beyondffpod@gmail.com, or please rate and review us on the platform you're listening. It helps grow our community. You can also check us out on Instagram and Facebook on social media. Huge thanks for our original music to Alex Weidman. And if you search Alex Weidman Composer on YouTube, you can hear the full fantastic theme and more of his work. Also, a big thank you to award-winning voiceover artist Cissy Jones for our brilliant opening voiceover. Find out more about her incredible work on cissyjones.com. And of course, a big thank you for our brilliant artwork to designer Russell Seal, who you can find more about on behance.net/Russell Seal. Thanks again, and see you next episode, Beyond the Final Frontier.